Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. Time now to have that conversation about the status of women in the Ghanaian media. I've been joined by Convener for the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Shamima. Great to have you here. And for many like myself, I strongly believe this has been a long time coming. This is a report on the status of women in the Ghanaian media. But help us understand, really, is it about women who work in the media or the representation of women in the media?
Right. So it's actually good morning. Let me start off. And it's been a bit, and it's good to see you back on the screens as well.
Thank you.
So yes, as the name suggests, is actually a report about women in the media itself.
Okay.
Because often we tell stories of other people and we don't turn the spotlight onto ourselves. So this is the first of its kind that we are doing a baseline study to find out a number of things about women who work in the media. Now, the reason why this is important is that there is a general poverty of data, and there is a gap in in data covering most essential parts of our society. The media is a critical component of our society, you would agree with me. And if we don't understand who is in the media, who is telling stories in the media, the stories that we tell, the images that we use, the voices that we use might not be reflective of the complex diversity of our society. And so it became really important very soon, very early on in the life of the Alliance, to find ways of conducting this research. And we are really happy that at least finally we have a certain source document, baseline information that will help us understand who is in our media. How old are they? What are their challenges? What are their perceptions about their pay, their work? Is there discrimination in our newsrooms? Is there gender harassment, for instance, in our newsrooms? Are women generally safe online or not? So we sought to ask a number of these questions, and it makes an exciting finding.
We know that you'll be launching that report soon, but I mean, just reading the subtitle, providing evidence for gender equality and advocacy, I'm tempted to believe that the findings of your report are not too positive, are they?
Oh, it will surprise you. The picture is not as stark as, the anecdotal inferences and the sentiments that we express on a daily basis reflect. It's not as stark.
Okay.
I would say that there's a lot of room for improvement. And because this is a quantitative study, the researchers will tell you that quantitative studies have their limitations because you are unable to do in-depth interrogation of the responses. Most are closed-ended questions. So again, if the researcher, if the respondent is not too comfortable with the researcher, they might not even present the real picture on the ground.
Okay.
But what is exciting is that globally, there are similar reports that show the status of women. There's a global status of women in media report that was commissioned a number of years ago by UNESCO, by the International Women's Media Foundation. The general statistics are that there is underrepresentation of women in the media and across different parts of the media strata. They also found generally that men often earn more than their female counterparts. And you just need to do a cursory scan of our media landscape to come to similar agreements. Because if we take primetime programming, the face of most primetime programs is masculine. And it also would relate to the remuneration thereof. So it is important to know why. For example, when we asked about the career, the qualification of many women, we found out that very few women have advanced degrees like master's and or PhD. And to the extent that we are not adding capacity, we might not then be able to take up extra or additional duties that is required at the management and leadership levels in our newsroom. What is rather stark is the almost or near absence of women at top management, leadership, and ownership levels. Now, we were told, if you take a look at this report that I have, it's African Media Barometer report. It's a first homegrown analysis of the media landscape in Africa. When they came to Ghana, they asked a number of questions. One of the questions was, is media able to fairly represent the voices of society and its minorities in its ethnic, linguistic, and religious diversity? And the answer was no. Now, research has shown that this is as a result of the lack of diversity within the newsrooms in itself. So you would see that if the newsrooms themselves were balanced and diverse, it will be easier for us to tell diverse stories to represent the complexity of our society. But this is not the case. So this report is to provide that baseline evidence that will begin conversations on engaging the stakeholders in the industry, government, media owners, media managers.
Unfortunately, we seem to have a challenge with our line there, and hopefully we can get Shamima Muslim back on to round up this conversation we are having about the status of women in the Ghanaian media. And that's a report that will be launched later today by the Alliance for Women in Media Africa between 2 to 4 p.m. We know that the Information Minister is part of the program, and the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Madam Sullivan, would also be there. We know that Professor Gajikpo, Shamima Muslim herself, and a host of other colleagues who are part of this. Also, Professor Akosia Dakwa. She is a professor in gender studies, and they will be sharing their thoughts and giving some highlights on that particular report on the status of women in the Ghanaian media. It's interesting the point Shamima was raising about women at management levels, and it's a report I can wait to see and read the full content of. But we'll bring you more on that here on the Joy News channel. Do I have Shamima back? Is the line back? Hi, Shamima, I can hear you. Sorry, we lost you there, but you were talking about the disparity between the number of women in management level as compared to their male counterparts.
Oh, BBC. So I would say have bequeathed for us this.
Oh, too bad. Shamima, sorry. I'm so sorry about this, but technology is failing us today. Our line is very bad. We can't hear a single thing you're saying. But like I said, we definitely will get back to you and get more on this here on the Joy News channel. But that's Shamima Muslim, convener for the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. You're watching the AM show with me, Bernice Abubeidou Lansa. Do stay for more.